Hi, and welcome to My ADHD Superpower Is, a podcast about reframing ADHD by focusing on what we excel at, both in our professional and personal lives. My name is Shan, and I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 42. I always believed that you had to be an 8-year-old fidgety boy to get diagnosed with ADHD. It wasn't until I read an article about ADHD in women that I realised I had many of the same struggles and characteristics growing up. For years, I labelled myself as lazy or useless at certain things that others found really easy, like paying bills or attending and remembering appointments. And the ADHD diagnosis meant that I finally had an explanation for those struggles. ADHD isn't always a superpower, but by choosing to focus on our unique strengths and by being more accepting and forgiving of our weaknesses, I believe that we can live happier, more fulfilled lives. You're in the right place if you want to know how you can survive and thrive with ADHD in the corporate environment and how you can juggle many hobbies and be a parent and generally succeed at adulting in a neurotypical world. Boy, have we got a topic for you this week. It's on hyperfocusing. So for those of you with ADHD, you're probably kind of nodding in recognition and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those who don't have ADHD or maybe parents of children with ADHD, hyperfocusing is when you have a really particular kind of fascination or interest in something that can happen for like quite extended periods of time. And it normally kind of means that you're so focused that you've kind of shut the world out. So these can be kind of interests that you have for a long time, or they might just be a topic that you're looking up for whatever reason, something piques your interest and then you kind of look into that topic. I have a couple of kind of things that I do that I would consider to be hyperfocuses. I have periodic kind of hyperfocuses where I think of one that happened to me probably a few months ago now. I was listening to the radio and I heard Alanis Morissette come on, and I was never really a massive fan of her, but when I was growing up in the 90s, a lot of my friends had all of her albums, and I do know all of the words to the songs, even though I never really had her albums. Anyway, this kind of triggered me to kind of go down a rabbit hole of looking on Wikipedia and then going on to YouTube. And before I knew it, I think I started looking into this at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then I don't think I even ate anything or drank anything, and it was kind of 2 p.m. and I thought, wow, I've really lost a whole day here, looking up Alanis Morissette's life story. So yeah, not particularly productive, but if anyone asks me any trivia questions on Alanis Morissette, then I'm your man. There's a variety of usefulness of this kind of hyper-focusing, but yeah, I would say I do have some others that are more kind of productive and maybe more helpful in my career. And something that I'm really passionate about is video editing. I got into video editing about, I want to say 10 years ago, because I had a blog at the time, and the blog topic was on running and kind of women's fitness. So I would film races and I would film myself exercising and sometimes film some of my trips that I would do, and make a short kind of 3-minute video that I would post on YouTube, not a huge amount. And I kind of really got into that, and I found it quite easy because of this sort of hyper focus, kind of obsessive kind of mentality that I think a lot of people with ADHD and autism have. I was able to really pick up kind of using the technology really quickly and spending hours watching things on YouTube, how to use iMovie that I was using at the time. I've kind of moved on since and now using kind of more advanced kind of video editing programs, but that's kind of how I started. And this kind of skill of mine has ended up being quite useful in my kind of corporate day job, because quite often we'll need to do videos, especially since COVID, really, because now that a lot of people are working virtually, and I work in a big global company, so I also work with colleagues in the US and other parts of the world. So we need to be able to kind of do training and share content and kind of update people. So yeah, I've ended up kind of creating some video content that has been shared widely. Sometimes the video content is just some fun, like a Christmas video, and sometimes it's been kind of more work focused and kind of more around some training that we're doing, for example. So yeah, I think this is how it can be a superpower if you're lucky and you're hyper focused, or the thing that you're really passionate about kind of can be productive at work, or it can be monetized somehow. I don't really encourage kind of monetizing your passions, because I think that's very kind of capitalist, and you don't need to be amazing at everything you do. You just need to enjoy it. But I do think I'm lucky that this particular hyperfocus and thing that I love to do has really been helpful at my work as well, and has kind of meant that it's given me a bit more recognition at work, and people, and it's something that people appreciate. So yeah, that's my hyperfocus. I think the issue that a lot of people who have ADHD or autism have is kind of this hyperfocus. You can't kind of turn it on demand, like, I have some homework to do, or I have a work project to do. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And the hyperfocus, like my example of sort of Alanis Morissette, it can be a really not very helpful, a bit random kind of thing. So yeah, that's the only downside, I would say. And you can kind of lose time, and before you know it, the weekend's gone and you've been sitting in your pajamas kind of going down a rabbit hole of Wikipedia, and you don't even know how you got there, and you don't even know what time it is and what day it is, sort of thing. So it is not always terribly productive, but a lot of the time that there'll be something that will kind of translate into your work life or be helpful in your personal life as well. Because with my video editing as well, I've made family videos and things like that we can kind of keep and treasure. So I think it really depends what your passions are, and so hyperfocusing I do think it's a superpower. And and I'm great in a quiz because I know so many random things, because it could have been something that I randomly kind of read about for hours. If you do have a friend or relative who has ADHD, and you're doing a pub quiz, then they're definitely going to be the person you want on your pub quiz. They might have a random knowledge of some topic. Yeah, so that's kind of hyper-focusing. I'd love to hear also some examples of your topics that you and passions and things that you kind of hyper focused on, and kind of where you've lost time as well, and random things that you've been looking into as well would be great to hear. And that's the end of this week's episode. Stay tuned and hit follow if you like what you hear, and look out for new episodes coming every Sunday. Thanks for listening.